Hello, viewers. Welcome to the next episode of Marketing in the Normal Knowledge series. Today we have with us Anubhav Arora. He's the head of strategic marketing at Indegene. It's a digital transformation partner for leading life sciences companies globally. Welcome, Anubhav.
Hi, Karthik. Thank you. It's nice to speak with you today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you today with this knowledge series that we're carrying out. So, Anubhav, over the last 2 to 3 months, we've seen a major lockdown, which has kind of impacted businesses globally. A lot of
Hmm.
challenges which companies have had to go through. What have been some challenges that you've seen in your industry with respect to your customers,
Yeah,
and how you've adapted to that? And what do you see few of those challenges continuing in the next few months?
absolutely. Sure, Karthik. So, as we were talking, we are a digital transformation organization and we work primarily with the life sciences organizations, the pharma organizations, the leading ones. So, actually, let me start with talking about how the pharma industry has changed. And I think that will help us draw a very clear connection on how we have changed as well to
Sure.
meet the requirements. So, there are three big changes that we have noticed. In pharma organizations, there has always been a very heavy reliance on the sales rep model. So
Mm.
what would happen is that a sales rep would go to a doctor's clinic or a hospital and meet a doctor and talk about a product. And that is something that has been happening traditionally. Now, what has happened is that companies realize that it's not possible anymore. Either there are restrictions from the organization side about employees going out in the market, or there are restrictions from the hospitals or doctors about kind of allowing sales rep to come and meet them in person. So the first challenge that the pharma industry is looking at right now is how to translate or convert all those face-to-face interactions, meetings, and conferences that used to happen before, how to convert that into a digital format. So that's the first challenge. The second one, if you look from a pharma organization's perspective, they now have a goal of accelerating their digital capabilities, let's say from a 30% earlier to 80% or 90% right now. So that puts an immense stress on the capabilities and on the infrastructure that these organizations have. And obviously, they are responding to a certain extent, but that's the second big challenge for them. The third one, and probably the most important one, is that companies are figuring out what is that right customer experience that they need to create right now. So think from a pharma's perspective, whose customer is a doctor.
Mm.
Right now, think about the mindset of the doctors. You have doctors on frontline who probably don't have the mind share or who probably don't have the capacity to interact with pharma.
Mm.
Whereas you also have other doctors in different other specialities who are operating beyond, I'm sorry, not beyond, who are operating below their capacity right now because
Mhm.
people are a little scared to go to hospitals. And
Mhm.
that is where pharma also needs to think very carefully about meeting their requirements and kind of designing interactions with them. So if you look from a pharma's perspective, the customer experience is that how do you design a spectrum of engagements which could meet the requirement of a frontline doctor who's probably
Mm.
looking for more medical information right now, and could also meet the requirement of other specialty doctors who are looking for more kind of training and other solutions right now.
Mm.
So these are broadly the three challenges that we have in the pharma space. Now, how does that translate to us as Indegene digital transformation partners? So what has happened in the last 3 months is that we have had to scale up our operations as well as delivery to meet this new
Mhm.
demand. And I think we are one of those few companies which are expanding right now. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, in the last 2 months, we have onboarded almost 200 new people in our organization. So and that's something that's going on because
Mhm.
that's what the need of the hour is right now. The second challenge or opportunity, I think you can call it both, is that at this point of time, we need to realize or we need to find the right tone for our messages.
Mm.
So I think it's very obvious that we have to be empathetic. We have to
Mm.
see the kind of challenges pharma has, the kind of challenges a doctor has, and
Mm.
similarly think about the kind of messages going out from our side. So we have to be empathetic. And second, at this point of time, it's very easy to get tempted and just to double down on the number of messages you send out,
Yeah.
to double down on the kind of the number of emails that you're sending out and all
Correct.
that.
Correct.
So what we have realized is it is very important to frame our solutions in the context of a very deep understanding of where different organizations are. If one organization is on a certain level, the other is probably operating in a completely different level. So when we frame our solutions for them, when we send out those messages, they should be in the context of a deep understanding of where they are, and then that means that a lot of customization is happening. So I think this is how we are coping up, or this is how we are dealing with the challenges. Going forward, Karthik, what has happened or what we have realized is that even in a post-COVID world, the things are not going to go back to what they were before. There is going to be a blended world, a kind of a blend of physical and digital models together, with obviously the digital's prominence would have increased over the last few months. So companies right now are uncertain about how would that mix look like, the mix of digital and physical. And similarly, when we are supporting them and we are working with them, we also have to help them figure out what is that right mix of digital and physical, again, as I call it, a blended experience that they can create for their customers, which is doctors. So that is going to be the crux of what's going to happen in the post-COVID.
That's very interesting, because I think
Yes.
pharma industry itself is going through a lot of disruption, and they're going to take off for a next wave of transformation, which looks like, purely from a digital standpoint, which earlier they wouldn't have probably experienced to this level that we will be seeing in the near future, and especially with respect to doctors, and how would doctors actually react and adapt to this digital engagement with companies, because like you rightly mentioned, a lot of them were actually more used to meeting the medical rep and then taking the conversation. So that's a very interesting thing, and I think from your side also, this is a very unique challenge as well as an opportunity to experiment and try out a lot of things. So on that note, what do you think that your organization is doing to sustain or maintain or build this competitive advantage for the next the new normal that we're going to get into?
Yes. No, so that's very interesting. So when I was thinking about it, we have things that are happening internally and externally, which are helping us maintain that position. So internally, I mentioned before, right, that we have had to scale up our delivery and operations. And that's where we have been recruiting people. And we have onboarded almost 200 folks in the last 3 months. So completely virtual onboarding, induction, and all those aspects. So that has worked out really well. Similarly, the HR has run multiple initiatives. They're supporting people who are either stuck. They're supporting our employees who are facing some mental health issues. They're supporting the new challenges. They're supporting to address the new challenges that have come up for the delivery leads at this point of time, when the entire organization has transitioned to a work from home environment. So our HR and leadership, I think they have done a fabulous job there, kind of addressing all those issues. I think one unique thing that happened is very early into the crisis, our leaders kind of organized a town hall. I think almost the entire organization was there. And then they spoke about a lot of burning issues, in the sense that they spoke about how we should not worry about the continuity of our jobs, the continuity of the regular appraisal process. And I think that gave a lot of confidence to people. So they're leading from the front, and internally that has worked out well. Externally, Karthik, as I mentioned, right? So pharma and healthcare overall is accelerating their digital evolution, and they're obviously happy to work with partners like us. Now, what happens is that at this point of time, it's very important to cut through the noise. As I said, everybody is sending out emails, messages every day, right? So what we have done is that we have built very strong thought leadership around digital transformation and how to kind of handhold companies through the entire journey and work with them at different aspects, right? We have been able to leverage that thought leadership to emerge as strategic thinkers, to emerge as somebody a farm organization would want to talk to at this point of time. So I think the industry itself is, in the light of this uncertainty, is looking for partners who can talk at a thought leader level, who are strategic thinkers, and I think that is what we'll be able to leverage.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that has worked out well for us, Karthik.
So that's really nice to see the focus that's coming on thought leadership, because
Absolutely.
not many companies actually understand the value and the impact that building thought leadership can do to the
Hmm.
organization in the long term. So, what would be some advice that you would like to give any of your marketing peers or budding marketing professionals who are wondering, how do I handle these marketing challenges in a
Hmm.
post-COVID world? What would be some tips or insights that you would like to share?
Yes. Um, I think the best advice at this point of time, and I think I spoke about the concept of customer experience before, right? It applies very well to us, the marketing as a function. So at this point of time, the best advice is to have the sole criteria of customer experience as a kind of a lens when you are designing your marketing strategy or marketing operations or the campaigns that you are running.
Hmm.
And the way that you do it, Karthik, or the way that you can probably break down customer experience is, I would say you look at 5 things.
Hmm.
So number one could be the relevance of your content. What is it that you're sending out right now, and will it make sense for that particular person or that particular group of persons? So first is the relevance of content. Second is timeliness. Very important to ensure that you send out those messages at the right time. So for instance, things are changing so fast that a
Hmm.
message that was relevant in the first week of the crisis is not relevant right now, because companies have slowly accepted the fact and they're coping up with it. So that kind of timeliness matters a lot. The third is, of course, agility. We are thinking every day about new messages, new campaigns. Again, very selective about the content that we want to share and tell them about. So that is the third one. The fourth one is a two-way dialogue. Two-way dialogue is a very difficult thing to achieve, given that it's everybody is so caught up in the things
Yeah.
that they're doing right now. So it's difficult to get time with senior leadership in the industry, but it's happening, and we have seen that that thing works really well. If you're
Hmm.
getting inputs from the senior leadership in the industry
Hmm.
on things that you should be doing right now, and then
Hmm.
you're accordingly kind of creating your messaging, your campaign, your strategy around that, that
Hmm.
works wonders. So I would encourage everybody to kind of initiate or get that two-way dialogue in place.
Hmm.
And fifth, and the overall, I think we've covered it before, is again the tone of the message, right?
Hmm.
Be very empathetic, realize that just doubling down on your same old messages is not going to work. Uh, Figure out the frequency, the channels, that entire channel mix strategy. The tone of your overall message should be very
Hmm.
empathetic. So this is how you can break down customer experience. And if you keep these things in mind, if you have this as your sole focus of, again, designing your marketing strategy or operations or campaigns, it will work really well. It should work really well in most
Yeah,
of the.
that's a very nice and a holistic approach to how they can handle these challenges.
Yes.
So you mentioned about thought leadership and how you're having those kind of conversations with your customers.
Hmm.
Customers are actually liking that. Also, they're looking forward to those kind of conversations. So, what do you
Absolutely.
think will be the role of content marketing and thought leadership research uh,
Hmm.
in a post-COVID world, and how do you think companies can leverage that better, and especially the ones which are operating in more knowledge-intensive industries such as yours? How could
Absolutely.
they probably leverage that?
Yes. Uh, I think, Karthik, the role of content marketer has become very critical, probably more important than ever before. And if you look at what kind of questions the industry has on their mind right now, what are those leaders in the industry thinking about right now? I would say number one, in the face of uncertainty, number one, they're thinking if they're up to date with what's happening in the industry, and then are they able to respond to it? So
Hmm.
that's the first question: what's happening in the industry, and are they able to respond to it? Number two, they're very interested in learning about what are their peers doing. So what are the other top 9 or top 15 pharma organizations doing?
Hmm.
uh, that is something that they would love to learn about. And then I think that would also lead to sharing best practices and all those things. And then the third one is that they are just looking for new ideas. They're looking for ideas on accelerating their digital capabilities. They're looking on ideas of kind of accelerating their infrastructure capabilities. So they're always open to these new ideas. Now, if industry is thinking about this, a content marketer can do so much here.
Hmm.
And I would want to share an example. So, Karthik, we run an industry roundtable. It's called Digital Council, which has which has commercial leaders from your top 15, top 20 pharma organizations. And we've been doing it for the last 2 years now. Now, what happened in the last 3 months is that we realized that we were working on a few publications and a few other deliverables, but we realized that these people at this time are completely focused on how to respond to this challenge, to this uncertainty. We changed the focus of this industry roundtable. We immediately communicated it to these members and we started interviewing them. So we were able to interview these 15 executives across these top 15, top 20 pharma organizations, and we were at least able to get a pulse of what they're up to. And that kind of experience also culminated in a meeting of those 15 members facilitated by us. So that is the kind of urgency you need. So if you feel that in the first few weeks or first few months, everyone is figuring out what's the right way to go forward, just get them to speak about it right now rather than trying to go back to what you were working on before. So my kind of suggestion to other content marketers again is that it is very important to focus on high value content right now. You can come up with infographics every day. You can come up with maybe point of views every day. But what is that high value content that would appeal to a reader right now? And the example that I gave is you're getting insights right from the horse's mouth. So everybody would appreciate it, right? So as a content marketer, it's your responsibility to make sure that you're able to get that high impact or high value content and maybe focus more on that. And then on side by side, your business is running as usual. You have your regular campaigns and regular kind of messages that you send out. So yeah.
That's so true, Anubhav, because I think what's happened off late is content marketers have started focusing on just generating volume of content. So somehow in their mindset, it is about I need to keep publishing content every day and just promote it across platforms. Whereas it's more important on the the kind of point of view which is coming out in that. What new insights are you giving? And like you rightly mentioned, what the customers actually thinking. Getting those insights from the horse's mouth, like you said, and then incorporating it into your content. That's a very valid insight that you've given.
And it's very, I would say it's very tempting to do it right now. Like you realize that packages are available. They don't have travel plans right now, and then you can go and meet them virtually, of course. And it's very easy to just double down on your same old messages or double down on the amount of emails that you're sending to them or the amount of messages you're sending to them. But we should stay away from that temptation. I think initially everybody would have reacted like that because everybody was figuring out, right? All the partners, all the companies were figuring out. But now, when we are weeks into the crisis or we are accepting it slowly, this is very important. The focus on thought leadership and high value content.
True. So have you, during this period when from the time the crisis started and how it has now kind of redefined the way the business environment is going to be, have you found any inspiration with organizations or CXOs externally who you thought have adapted very well to this new business situation?
Yes. So the majority of the organizations that we are working with or we are seeing right now, I think all of them are doing their part. There's no denial of the fact that nobody is stepping up or not doing their part. Everybody is doing their part in some form or the other. A lot of good activities have happened through CSR committees, both at our organization and externally as well. So that has worked out well. I think one of the things that I personally found very valuable or really liked is how some of these edtech companies, you take Upgrad, for example, you take Vedantu, for example. The moment this started, the moment you realize that universities are closing and students don't have access to different mediums, they just open up their platforms for free. They open up their platforms and students and universities were able to onboard easily, were able to kind of continue their sessions using that platform. And I think that is huge. Obviously, I understand that there are some business benefits that they might be able to get out of it later on. But immediately going into this situation, the fact that you're able to do this for the community and onboard a huge section of students without much challenges, I think that's a big deal. And that's something that I found inspiring.
Interesting. So on that inspiration note, Is there any book that you've read during this time, or that you find it very relevant for people to build resilience, to have hope that things will pick up, or being agile? Any books that you would like to recommend?
Yeah. So personally, I'm an avid reader of fiction. So I've always loved reading fiction. But in this current situation, in fact, the head of the sales at our organization, he recommended this book to me. It's called Unlocking the Customer Value Chain.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting book,
Yeah.
Karthik. So essentially, as I was saying, right, that we speak about customer experience all the time, but how to break it down, how to understand customer journeys, and then kind of base your strategies on those customer journeys is something very, very difficult. The concept of customer experience seems a little vague to a lot of people. So if you're able to break down customer journeys, if you're able to then kind of craft your strategies or messages based on that, that is pure gold if you're able to do that. And that's what we try to do, right? We try to break down customer experience into different things. So yeah, this book, which was again recommended by my head of sales, and I personally found it very helpful, is Unlocking the Customer Value Chain.
Nice. So I had a very interesting and insightful conversation. I think you had some very wonderful points to share with respect to focusing on customer experience, importance of thought leadership, how companies can actually leverage content marketing in these times, and the 5 pointers that you had for marketing peers on how they could handle the current challenges. So I think it is very, very meaningful and very interesting conversation. And I think at the core of it is, how do you have enhanced customer experience, and how do you showcase your thought leadership during these times, which is what is going to set the leaders apart from the followers. So thanks once again, Anubhav, for your time, and look forward to collaborating with you soon on any more thought leadership initiatives.
Thank you, Karthik. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm very happy that you're taking this initiative. It is very important to bring out the relevance and the need for good thought leadership right now. Very happy to kind of collaborate. Thank you.
Thank you.